Soup! Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. Wrong. We have email submissions. That's right, I do indeed take email submissions. If you want to submit your person's story, link down in the description below so you can write me the email to it. Well, not a link, email, you know what I mean. Anyway, we got some email submissions for today, so let's go ahead and go through them, starting up with the first one for today. A D&D horror story from Anthony. Dramatis personae. Names change except for position of DM. DM Dungeon Master. Loot Wizard. Chadwick Druid. Ryu Commoner Homebrew class. Totem Rogue. Colander Fighter. Alrina Rogue, not to mention as they were not part of the session. My understanding that Loot is the only person who didn't have little to no experience with D&D before this campaign. I didn't know that he has anything to do with this or not, but mentioning in case it does. Story is mainly with Loot as the antagonist. One big issue that DM was informed of on a few occasions, which they did talk to on a couple of occasions and even booted them from a session here or there for, that it was very frustrating to have large chunks of the session be taken up by Loot arguing against a DM's ruling or saying how Loot had a better way of doing it or claiming that something the DM said about the world was wrong. A new player that hardly knows much about D&D immediately arguing with the DM about the ruling and how things are going when they have little to no knowledge. Oh my goodness, that's already that's already a red flag right there. Listen, if you're new to a thing and you're arguing with the DM of all people about how things are supposed to be run better because you know better when you know very little, I'm pretty sure there's like a bell curve for that sort of thing. You can't claim to know something about something that you don't know much about. You can't go into D&D saying, I know everything about D&D when you're brand new to the thing. It's one thing, let's say, for example, if they've done a lot of reading and stuff, but like, it's different about the way it's interpreted. That's not how they did it on the other table kind of thing. Is this one of those moments where the player thinks they know better than the DM even though they have no idea what's going on whatsoever? I like to point out that this world was created by the DM, including people, places, things, ideas, and all that fun stuff. So the DM should know better than the player in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know everything about the game. Before the last session, that was the ICBM in a coffin, or perhaps a semi-load of hay bales that broke the camel's back. I'd like to mention a few things Loot has done during the campaign. So it's a homebrew world the DM has put together, has spent plenty of time putting together the NPCs and how the world functions, and the players arguing, no, that's wrong, you should do it like I wanted you to do it. That is wild already. It's already setting off some major red flags for me. Story 1. In the first cave of the campaign, Loot tried to cast sleep on a couple of goblins, and then argued with the DM when the DM said that the goblins near the party ran to see what the fuss was about. Also had the effect of ruining our stealth plans. Loot argued because the goblins shouldn't have been able to know that they cast anything, and DM reminded Loot that sleep contained a vocal or verbal component, and then those were going to be used as mentioned in session 0. Loot claimed that they could have whispered it, which the DM again said it was mentioned in session 0. The rules of voice needed to be heard loud and clear at least 60 feet away or something like that. Loot said that it was stupid, but they understood that voice could carry on the cave walls, so it makes sense that they might have heard something if they had good perception. DM showed where the goblins had started from, and I think it was not even 45 feet away on the other side, on a rocky outcropping that blocked our sight to them. Verbal component means it's a verbal component. I don't care how you want to rule it, you need to say something out loud. Trying to make everything into a whisper, that's like arguing semantics and stuff. Listen, if your DM says your verbal component would cause enough loudness for the other goblins to hear you, then that's the rules you're playing with. It's the same thing as being like, oh, I want my somatic component just to be a tiny little finger wiggle. No, the whole point is if it's a material component, it has to be a material, especially if it's paid in gold. If it's a verbal component, you say out loud. If it's a somatic component, it requires you to do some sort of a hand gesture or something. And if the DM says the verbal component part is going to alert the goblins, that means the verbal component is going to alert the goblins, regardless if you try to whisper or not. If we can't even get through a session without arguing the tiny little minutia semantics about stuff, then it's just like, what's the point of doing it in the first place then? It just doesn't make sense. If you don't want to tangle with verbal components of spells, play sorcerer. You can literally play, I think, called not quiet spells, silent spells. It's a sort of a sorcerer modifier that lets you basically make a spell without needing a verbal component. Simple. Done. There you go. You never have to worry about ever needing to be loud again for verbal components. Story 2. Calendar knows Draconic, so they were the only ones that could talk to Cave of Kobolds. This is important. We were able to have the cave go from being maybe several different combats that would drain a lot of resources to a short sting of tense diplomatic negotiations that were going well. Party had almost made it to the Queen, one room away, and the players had just about gotten the okay to go in for a chat with her, I think, and Lute said that he, in character, was bored and couldn't understand what was being said, and because Colander hadn't said the last few things to the group that were said in Draconic, he was casting a firebolt in the face of one of the kobolds. Almost the entire session gone to hell after a lot of rolls, some resources used up, and a lot of tense moments that ended up being really fun because Lute was bored and wanted more to happen. Okay, no, that's just a player willingly decided to act stupid. Out of game, of course out of character, Lute as a player is sitting there and can hear everything going on. But they decided, what would be more fun for my character? My character wants to be a selfish a-hole instead and just be like, my character is bored, so therefore, chaos, fireball, DM. I fire a fireball to one of the kobolds because my character is bored. If you're doing something like this specifically, because even though out of character you know that this is like, you know, gonna ruin things for you, then you're just a crappy player. You're a horrible crappy player that probably shouldn't be at this table, and I can't believe the rest of the players even have to tolerate your behavior. Imagine doing this is what my character would do in that moment to try to just ruin everybody's fun like that. Why would you want to do that? I want my character to start being an impatient, pedantic a-hole and just firebolt anything, DM. I know what's going on, I know what other players are doing, but my character is more important right now, and he is bored, and he's bored, he decides to get violent and chaotic and start fireballing people because haha random. Nothing is more annoying than a player that literally focuses on their character as the most important part of it. I get it, you're playing there right now for yourself, but you're not the most important person at the table. Story 3. Sessions before the big one, the group was trying to gain a way to hide one of the extended party members. They make it to a room where a couple of items are needed, but they were trapped by a couple of glyphs. Two of the party specifically said they wanted to investigate one of the glyphs together. DM called for Arcana check with advantage from one of the others helping. Then Lute said that they simply walk into a room and firebolt the other glyph. After DM said the Lute was getting hit by a bunch of damage depending on dex save, and the other two, Colander and Totem, were getting hit by both. Everyone in the party got angry, which I hope isn't seen as anything but understandable. Then the half-hour or more crap show with the Lute arguing against the DM, saying it's bullcrap, they'd have to claim to the group that they were doing in character, as it should already be obvious that he would do that. DM did a good job of making it clear that what was said in character as our character goes, and that if players don't like the consequence to the actions, they don't get to backpedal. Even Colander and Totem said they should alright take the damage, even if it was a horrible rolls that they were killed outright, because it said they were sitting there and investigating glyph when Lute walked in without saying anything in character other than they cast the spell and rolling to hit. DM tried multiple times to end the discussion, as did a couple players, until DM made a compromise that, due to the party knowing that is something Lute would do, them watching Lute walk in confidently and staring one of the glyphs might freak them out and tell them they had to leave, so everyone could use a reaction to use a move action. Colander and Totem only took damage from one. Thankfully, it wasn't very much. Commoners have wonderful abilities that can be buffs. I'm very curious about the commoner class. I don't understand what the heck the commoner class would even do. Do you just know how to like brew like a really good cup of tea, or like I don't know, help somebody fetch some? What does a commoner class even do in the first place? I don't get it. It must be some kind of a homebrew out there. I don't know what it kind of thing it would do. Maybe it's like an ultimate support, right? Maybe just like, I don't know, like a party mom or party dad that just takes care of everybody to make sure everybody got, you know, a batch of cookies or something. I don't know. They got like a portable bakery in the backpack, and they can just bake somebody refreshing cookies that restore their health and temp HP or something. Who knows? Lute, however, sounds absolutely incomprehensibly obnoxious to be at the table, especially since you guys are currently working on something and they just go, my character doesn't care. They walk in, step on a glyph, fireball with the other glyph. Your DM allowing everybody else to react to try to dodge out of the firebolt range or not get hit by a truckload of damage is very kind of them, but honestly, the best thing would be to just remove Lute at that table, because they're literally just ruining fun because they're bored or want to be a little random or something, which is obnoxious as hell. Story 4, the big one. Part 1. After escaping the building they were in and bedding down, they took a rest. Totem saw one of the following NPCs cast a spell away from the party during watch and told Lute about it. Lute wanted to know if they knew what it may have possibly been. An arcane check was asked for. It was a 1. Lute started flipping out about how randomized computer dice were biased and would pick random people to make sure they roll bad for important things and roll super good for things that weren't a big deal. They rolled a 20 on perception, but there was nothing to see, and they made them tell us all how they were right. Then I'm getting another arcane check with advantage, but they were both 1s also. Lute went ballistic and asked DM if they used real dice, which all of us already knew what they did. Online campaign, and they heavily insinuated the DM was cheating by using real dice when they used the bias and unfair random rolls online. Okay, you can't blame everything, and not everything is just rigged against you all the time. Random dice, especially online dice, the dice are random. And yes, I know sometimes it sucks to have some really low rolls. I had players, I even had myself as a DM and player both get like consecutively low rolls every single time. And it sucks no matter how much advantage you give somebody, no matter how much inspiration or rerolls. The dice gods sometimes just demand you roll super low. It happens. A probability for it is there. It can happen. But freaking out over a single natural one, okay, just roll with the punches. The best part about D&D, in my opinion, is the highs and lows and how well the players choose themselves to start rolling with it. I had a player that literally rolled a natural one on dexterity, and they asked me if they could be the one to direct exactly what what character did. As the director of the character, literally tumbling down the stairs all the way to the bottom and alerting the people on the other side because they're rolling with the punches. Roll with the highs, roll with the lows, and just find a way to have fun about it. Yeah, streaks or low rolls and stuff that can happen and they can suck, but having this meltdown over a single natural one and be like, DM, he's trying to screw me over, is ridiculous and immature. Part 2. After doing some traveling that day, they arrived in a clearing where there were a few children. One of them wanted to play with the NPC follower we needed to hide, and Lute originally said it was okay as long as the kid asked the NPC first, which made the kid happy, but then took it back after seeing that NPC wasn't going very good. The kid was upset and said that Lute already said that she should be able to ask the NPC and started to walk towards it. Lute cast Sleep. First they wanted to only hit the one they were going after, but they were using a wrong token. So DM put the right one up there, which upset Lute as there wasn't a workable way to hit the kid without hitting at least one more of the kids of party members. So Lute had only hit 2 kids and knocked them unconscious. Remaining girl freaked out and went to see if other 2 were okay, while asking Lute what they did. Lute said to the DM that the girls shouldn't know that they cast a spell as they are commoners. DM tried to explain that sleep spell using all different components and with magic being decently common, there's no reason to assume they didn't know that Lute cast something, even if they didn't know what it specifically was. Turned out the kids were in the type of hostage situation with a lot of other things going on. Short version of that is that the kids wanted to rush wherever the home was, so some bad guy holding 2 families hostage wouldn't kill their parents, but staying up past the curfew the bad guy allowed. As they were running, they didn't want to hang around the party. Girl who got knocked unconscious looked at Lute and said that they were a very mean or rude person. This is where Lute lost everything that they had lost already. I know I just want to interrupt with it, but it's absolutely ridiculous that somebody would be able to see your character Lute be like, sleep has like a verbal and somatic component, right? Somnia, or whatever other verbal component you decide to use. I don't know what naturally people use out there for verbal components of spells, but they see somebody like, oh, Betty bye, cast the verbal component and be like, what is he doing? Did he cast a spell? Definitely not. Are you kidding me? Definitely didn't. If magic is common, then go when somebody just be standing there going Betty sleepy boo boo time and they're using a somatic component with like some sort of a hand gesture. I think everybody would know that, oh my god, he might be casting a spell. I bet it's a sleep spell because the 2 children that got put to sleep are now unconscious through magical means. Assume that everything that is said that he said after this was a bunch of swearing mixed in. He told the DM that the DM doesn't know what they're talking about, and that claiming commoners could understand anything about magic, including knowing how to tell if someone might be casting something, even when 2 kids get knocked out immediately after they say words and make gestures and hold up random items from a pouch, was complete bull. Not full word. And then the whole idea is freaking stupid. I am sorry, but if I'm seeing somebody standing in the corner looking at some kids and going Betty bye, boo boo time, and then suddenly like they're using material component like a wand or something, I don't know if they need a material component for sleep, I have no idea, but if I'm seeing somebody standing here going Betty time, baby boo boo time, and then kids just go just immediately unconscious, I'm gonna assume they're casting a spell or they're a witch and doing some sort of hocus pocus magic stuff. Even the most hick of hicks would be like, is that son casting some spell over there? Downright kids got knocked out immediately. I saw him doing some kinds of magical stuff and shenanigans. What's going on over there? Even if they don't know they did magic, that would still look suspicious as hell. It's ridiculous. Lute sounds ridiculous, honestly. Oh my god. How's the DM stomaching somebody like that? Also, is there a list of verbal components that you say? You know how like in Baldur's Gate, right? Somebody cast Firebolt, they go Ignis. You know? Is there like a specific word for a bunch of these spells? Because I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious if there's a canon somatic component for all the spells. Genuinely. Then Lute went on a random rant about how people are against them and the DM doesn't know that they're doing, and that as far as Lute is concerned, if the kids and the parents get killed by the hostage takers, they couldn't care less. Then said they're sick and tired of having to explain these things and show the rationale when they aren't even listened to, and said they were bleeping done with this game and left the call. A few minutes later, DM said that Lute messaged them and said that Lute officially quit the campaign. Everyone was down for the rest of the session. It sucks that you guys were down, but honestly, the trash took itself out. Gotta be honest, Lute does not sound like a pleasant person to be around in the slightest. Maybe they'll find outside of TTRPGs, but this current situation, the current examples you're giving me, make him feel like an insufferable player. Aftermath. Couple of days later, Lute posted saying that they're sorry about what happened, and they were off their meds for a couple of days and wasn't in the right state of mind. Then they mentioned how handle in the future if they did that again in the session. Like, what? That's like saying, hey, I know I screwed up, but I was off meds and knew how it could affect me, but played anyway. If I go overboard and argue more than usual, go ballistic again, here's ways you can deal with me. Anyway, after apologizing, DM sent messages to either every player or just those who were in that session, which we had 2 absent for 2 of it, saying that while they are personal friends with Lute, they're choosing the group over the friend, as the friend is the one who caused the issue. Which Lute agreed they were, but DM said that if 100% of the group said they would be okay with Lute rejoining, DM would allow it with the understanding that any lines crossed again, be it blowing up or just blatant arguing, then Lute would be kicked immediately with no hope of coming back. Honestly, not sure if DM is fully on board to even let Lute in if the whole group says yes. Probably not down for it, but honestly, they just don't want to be the one to make the ultimate decision. They want to see what everybody else thinks. They probably don't want Lute there, but they're thinking just in case everybody else really wants Lute in this game for some reason, they'll finally find ways to stomach and allow it. But I bet you the DM doesn't want Lute in. If this is the kind of thing they're pulling, especially the crap excuse, hey, yeah, off my meds, but if that happens again, please follow these instructions to learn how to deal with me in the future. I get it. Some people can be on the meds. It can change a little bit. I fully understand. Like, I don't find problems that Lute is on meds. If they need medication to be able to function better in the world, just everyday life, that's on them. If they're taking care of themselves best they can and stuff. But some people just aren't that pleasant to play TTRPGs with, regardless of meds or no med. Like, if this is the kind of behavior that's going to be expected to happen, and you guys gonna have to just deal with the blow-ups and stuff, and you'd rather not, I don't blame you guys. I really don't blame your table for not wanting to do that. That's probably why DM is asking, like, if everybody's 100%, then maybe we'll let him in, because the DM is probably not 100%, but doesn't want to be the ultimate decision or de facto leader for the rest of the table. But I don't think it matters, as I know at least 2 of the players already told DM they're not okay with Lute coming back, as they're there to play D&D, not to sit around while Lute argues with the DM, repeatedly over the same thing sometimes, complaining about something they disagree with and counter things the DM says at times. Yes, there are times when it's not as bad at all, but it happens enough at doing without it generally would be preferable. Also, though it's just a theory, I'm pretty positive the one player left after a few sessions because of Lute and Lute's personality. What do you think? Do you think we should be thoughtful about being off meds as the reason and hope this could be a wake-up call for Lute to settle down and stop arguing as much and being a unilateral decision maker and such? Or do you think we're better off without Lute because it's already not easy dealing with them many of the sessions? Talking with a couple of players, it seems that some of the players only play because they love how the DM runs the game, and the other players are considering Lute being in the sessions as an unfortunate cost. Thank you for reading. If having a problem player is an unfortunate cost, then why even have this like cost in the first place? It sounds like a bargain. Why you guys even need to bargain in the first place? If people rather not have Lute there because they don't want to just deal with Lute's problematic behavior, I don't think that's a problem in the slightest. It just sounds like you guys don't want to deal with Lute's problematic behavior and don't want to deal with the problem player there. There's a little bit more to this. There's a bit of an edit, like a little bit of a fill in the story, so maybe my opinion will change. Let's try it out. Editing to add a story between number 2 and 3. So Lute was going to be at least an hour late, which the DM and players were made aware of. During almost the entire time of Lute being gone, the party was spending in character discussion on how to deal with someone they knew was a bad guy and deciding how to mention certain things while being able to also hide other things. The party had spent literally over an hour talking about how to omit certain things without being deceitful and hide the fact that we had something with us that the bad guy would be very interested in getting his hands on. When Lute showed up, DM asked them if they wanted a super short recap of the strategy the group agreed on, but Lute just wanted to get into the session and said they had anything needed to know would come out naturally. The moment we got back to talk to the bad guy, Mitchell needed to get back to town. When the bad guy asked that was so important, Lute spilled the beans. including letting him know that we had what the bad guy had been after for a while. That undid an entire hour of prepping that we did in character during the session. DM had a rule that what is said in character is considered said, and we all unfortunately agreed that this is something Loot would probably end up doing, either intentionally or by accident. Sent us back in what we were planning, and we tried to scramble to get out of there. Loot couldn't figure out why what they did was an issue, but it was infuriating to see so much tactics and strategy for communication and fun doing it all went out of the window because Loot didn't want to let us fill them in. Honestly, and dare I say, that's kind of a DML. You guys literally spent a whole hour trying to figure out, like, strategize about what's going on. The least the DM could give you guys is a bit of a leeway because Loot is just being Loot. Be like, well, you guys spent all this hour trying to plan. It would be a real shame to just have this plan just go to waste and just have be all screwed over just because Loot blabbered on because they didn't want to get a recap. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like maybe that's a bit of an LDM take on this situation. They should have gave you the ability to like retcon that specifically. I get the rules about what is said in character because they set a specific standard and stuff, but man, that just kind of sucks. Honestly, I think you guys got to be way better off without Loot. Loot sounds like a problem player. There's no way that we're off the meds for every single session that we're problem in. There's no way. I refuse to believe it. I genuinely refuse to believe it. I think they're using the whole meds thing as an excuse to basically be like, oopsie guys, my bad. Let me come back and play, please. Because their behavior in general is just unacceptable. It's unexcusable and it's just not okay. It's simply not okay. They need to think about what they want to do, honestly. Thank you so much for your story submission. Let's get to the next story submission for today. Can you tell I'm doing these stories early? My voice is not warmed up anymore. Well, it's not hoarse. Typically, I would get like really hoarse by the time like, what, third hour recording? I'm doing these early. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.